And here guys, how's it going? It's me, mikeyperion, and welcome to our tutorial for the vertical version of our modular piston door. So basically, we also have the horizontal version of this piston door, but you can actually check that video in the link in the description below. But for now, of course, we are going to do our vertical version of that modular piston door. So basically, this is actually 4 block wide, and you can actually build this as high as you can. As you can see, if we press that button, it actually works seamlessly, and it also closes automatically, and it works like a zipper, which, well, it actually opens and closes sequentially, right? So basically, this is also a modular design. So one module is actually only 2 block high, which is actually make it very simple to build, and also it works the same on the other side. So basically, we just need to copy one side and flip it and build it on the other side. So basically that's how it works. So well, this is actually very simple, and basically, well, hopefully you will learn something new for this video, right? But anyhow, so without further ado, let's build this. And now let's begin with this tutorial. So first, we're gonna need a 6x12 area for your base work. Well, the actual piston door will only require a 5x10 area, since we have those tiny bits and pieces at the bottom section, and as well as the input on the front part. So that's why we're actually having at least 6x12 for the base work. And for this tutorial, we're just gonna concentrate on making a 5 block high piston door. So this is actually going to be the actual door. So for the actual door, it will actually require to have full blocks on the outer layers or the outer sides of this piston door. And on the midsection, you can actually use transparent blocks like cylinders and these glass blocks, and as well as you can also use some fences and even iron bars. You can actually use that on the midsection, but on the outer section, it has to always be full blocks like these iron blocks, or even some stone bricks, or even some smooth stones. You can actually use that on the outer sides of this piston door. And also, this piston door will actually start on the 3rd level, so you need a 2 block gap on the bottom section of your piston doors for some parts of your redstone construction. So for this tutorial, we're actually gonna have 2 segments. So we're gonna try to build on the first segment on this side right over here. So we're gonna build one section right over here, which is going to be a straight build. And if you guys wanted to know the explanations and the sequence of actions of our pistons, so basically I'm gonna do that on the second segment, where we are going to build the second half of our piston door. So if you're guys only interested in building this, you can actually watch the first part and then just copy and flip it on the other side. But if you're guys interested on how this thing works, you can also watch the second segment of this tutorial. But anyway, so well, let's start doing the first side. So first, let's start with the base work. So here we're gonna have our input. So on this section right over here, we're gonna have a block, and then a redstone dust, and then another block where you're actually going to have your input. So for this tutorial, we're just gonna use a lever for the meantime. And then of course, since this is our input, we have to connect it with some redstone dust on this direction, and then next to it is going to be a redstone repeater and 2 ticks, and then block, and then a redstone dust on top of that. And then we're gonna have a repeater on the normal settings, or on the default thick, going to that direction. And then we're gonna have 2 observers next to each other, and then a redstone dust on the back side right over here. And on this section, we're gonna have another repeater set to 4 ticks, and then we're gonna have a sticky piston, and then with an observer on top of it. So basically, this is our base work. So most of this part is actually handling the initial timings for the piston to actually work. And then now let's place the piston. So basically, the piston has to be also on the same level as where we are actually putting the actual door. So basically, we have 2 block gap on beneath it. So basically, on this side, we're gonna have a double piston next to each other. So basically, of course, we're gonna have the same number of double piston as same as with our door right over here. So let's place 4 more, since we actually have 5 block high piston door. We're gonna place 5 of these double piston on this section right over here, and we're gonna need a couple more piston on this section right over here, which is on the same level. On this section, this is just gonna be a single piston facing to that direction. So now we just need to connect these pistons from our base work. So let's start on the front side right over here. So first we're gonna place a tower of servers on this section right over here. So basically it's going to be alternating. So first we already have our redstone dust right over here. On top of that, we're gonna place an observer, and then another redstone dust on top of it, and then another observer, redstone dust, observer, and a last redstone dust. Well, it has to be on top of the topmost piston that you actually have on your piston door. And then we just need to connect this to this section of piston. So basically we also need an alternating observers facing to this direction. So you have to connect it on this redstone dust right over here facing to that direction. So let's put two more observers on this section. So basically it has to be like that. So the topmost piston should have an extra observer on this layer right over here for this side. And on the back side, we also need to connect this piston right over here, and as well as this section right over here. So basically we're also gonna do the same. So since we already got a redstone dust right over here, we're gonna do the same. So observer, redstone dust, observer, redstone dust, observer, and redstone dust. So we also need to connect this back piston right over here from this tower of servers. So basically in order for us to do that, we just need to connect it with some block first. So we're also gonna do it alternatingly, and then we're also gonna place some more redstone dust on this section right over here, and then some repeaters facing to this piston right over here on 4 ticks. So since one module is actually handling 2 levels, so that's why we're actually doing it alternatingly. So let's put another repeater on 4 ticks and another repeater here on 4 ticks. And lastly, well, we also need to place some observers facing to this direction. In order for us to do that, we have to stick it on this piston right over here. So we're also gonna do it alternatingly. So starting from the very first piston door in the bottom section, we're gonna have a piston door right over there, and let's do it alternatingly. So it has to be like that. So basically this is already done, so it's very simple, it's very easy to build. It's just kind of confusing, but wait, last thing, for the last action, I almost forgot that we also need to place another connection on this front side right over here. So let's just put 2 blocks and then redstone dust on top of this one, and then a repeater on 4 ticks that will actually do the last action that this piston door will actually need. So let's put this back here. So if we're actually gonna test this, so let's flick this lever, this should actually open, and there you go, it actually worked. And if we actually turn this off, it should actually be put back and the door will actually be closed. So actually that's how you'll build it. And of course we're gonna do it on the same thing on the other side, but with the explanation. So before we actually begin on explaining how this thing works, let me show you first the option on how to use the buttons for this piston door. So basically we can also have the input on this side right over here. So let's just do the same thing and a block on top of that redstone dust, and then we, instead of using the lever, we can actually use the button. Since the button has a very limited, you know, redstone signal, we can actually extend that by using or by placing some comparators on this section right over here on this formation, and then we can also connect that with some redstone dust. So if we actually trigger this, the redstone signal will actually hold the door much longer compared to the time that it has no, you know, redstone signal extenders that we have here. So well, basically that's how it works when we're actually using the button. So now it's time to explain the things on how this thing actually works. So before we actually begin, that's probably it's the best if we're gonna place already the piston. So on this side we're gonna have the double piston extenders facing on this direction. So we got that 5, and as well as some pistons on this section right over here. So we're also gonna have 5, and there you go. So basically the first thing that we have to do is to move this block right over here. So basically we need to activate this piston right over here. So basically in order for us to do that, we are actually having this. So repeater on 2 ticks, redstone dust, block, and then the redstone dust, and then this tower of observers with some redstone dust, observers, redstone dust, and observer, and last redstone dust. And for us to connect these towers of observer to this one, of course, I will also gonna connect that with some observers facing on this direction. So basically, if we actually triggered that, that will actually first retract the first blocks on the outer layer right over here, or the outer side of our piston door. So basically, that's actually the first action that it has to do. So the next action is actually to pull back the piston on this side right over here, so at least we can actually have a way, or we can actually give way for these glasses to be retracted on the back side right over there. So basically, let's turn this off to test it again, and yes, we have the extender, so that's why it's also extended. So for us to do that, we need to connect this set of pistons on the back side on this section right over here. So this will actually give the proper timing. So a repeater, 2 observers, and then a redstone dust, and it's actually aligned to this set of pistons right over here. So let's place the same thing, the tower of observers, alternatingly with some redstone dust. So we already have that. So once we have placed back the blocks right over here, and once we have triggered it, it will actually be set aside on this side right over here. So at least this double piston extender will actually retrieve these glasses on the midsection that we have here, right? So yeah, so well, basically we still need to turn this off. So we'll try it again. So basically, the next sequence that we have to do is to trigger this back piston right over here. So for us to do that, we're gonna extend this redstone signal. So we're gonna use this same redstone signal, but it has to be on 4 ticks. So it's actually the next sequence that we have to do. So for us to do that, we have to do this, and then of course, to have the proper timing, this has to be in 4 ticks. So if we actually triggered that, if we actually turn this on, that will extend. As you can see, it actually extend the piston on the backside right over here. And for us to do this again, this section right over here, basically, since this is actually extended, once the piston is actually on this section, we still need to extend that. Something like, that's the reason why we actually got this set of observers right over here. Because since we have a block right over here, and this is actually extended, so this will also give a redstone signal that will actually extend this piston. So imagine that the piston is already right over here, and it still need to be activated. So for this glass to be reach, or to be retracted by this piston right over here. So basically, that's how it will gonna work. So since we already got this, so let's test it. Let's turn it off first, and of course, let's try it out again. So let's place these blocks. So if we try this, as you can see, the blocks, or this set of glass, where actually has been retracted back, 1 block going to this direction, right? So last action that we needed is to just extend this set of pistons, since it actually has been retracted back here. So we just need to activate that again, since it is also connected through this sticky to these observers right over here. So we just need to repeat that same action with a different timing. So that's actually the reason why we're having a repeater on this side right over here with the piston facing upwards, and an observer, and then some blocks right over here, and then we actually need a redstone dust, and then a repeater right over here. So as you can see, it has been retracted already, right? So this is actually already complete. So if we actually turn this off, so it should the door should actually be closed accordingly on the sequence, which is actually reversed on what it has done in the opening action, right? So basically, that's how it works. So if you watch this closely, if we open the door, So basically that's how it works. And if we close it, yeah, we just have extended it. So that's how it works. So basically that's the secrets of actions that this piston does. This piston do. So same thing if we actually also do for the buttons, it will just I mean these comparators will just hold the redstone signals enough for us to get in. Well, you can actually add more what you call this, you can actually add more comparators, but you can actually extend that. And if you're also guys planning to put an input on the backside, you can actually use this on the backside right over here, and basically you can just add another block right over there, and then a button on the back. Oh no, actually that will also affect that. So that's the reason why I'm putting it on this section right over here, because just to avoid giving signals to this piston so it will not be affected, right? So if we also place a button right over here on the back side, that will also open the piston door. So basically I think that's all of it. So like I said, this is a modular piston door. You can actually build it as high as you can, as long as I mean, if you have build limit, of course you can build up to your build limit, but if you have that turned off, you can actually build as high as you can. So basically, of course, this is what we so called probably a piston door to the sky or whatsoever. So basically I think that it. So hopefully guys you have learned something for this tutorial, and well, that's it for this tutorial. So well, thank you for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment, please leave a like, and don't hesitate to ask me questions in the comment section. Of course, I'm gonna happily answer those questions. But anyways, of course, I'll see you guys again soon.